In Peru, the government did not bear responsibility for the death of 6 young soldiers who attempted to cross the Lava River a month ago. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart discussed on Thursday expanding economic cooperation and strengthening defense ties between the two countries. Israel strikes the Gaza Strip after vowing to retaliate over a barrage of Gaza border rockets fired from Lebanon early Thursday. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The Peruvian government denied responsibility for the death of 6 young soldiers crossing the Lava River, which occurred a month ago. The defense minister, Hugo Chavez, denied any type of responsibility of the state for the events occurred in the midst of the repression and anti-government protests. These events have sparked controversy because the deceased military personnel were obeying orders from army superiors, according to the version of the eyewitnesses. The government position caused dissatisfaction in the collectivity and other governmental entities, so the possibility of a motion of ceasefire against Minister Chavez is being evaluated. Brazilian authorities informed that President Luis Ignacio Lula da Silva will leave for China next week for a trip that will begin in Shanghai on April the 13th. According to the Poder 360 portal, on that first day, Lula will participate in the opening ceremony of former Governor Dilma Rousseff as head of a new development bank, a Greek financial institution, and on April the 14th, the founder of the Workers' Party has a meeting scheduled with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing. After his departure, Lula will make a stop in the United Arab Emirates, where he will sleep one night and arrive in Brazil on April the 16th. Lula suspended the trip to China planned for March after being diagnosed with a bacterial and viral bronchopneumonia due to the influenza and awaiting the closure of the viral circle. The president of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso, was notified on Thursday of the beginning of the political trial against him and appointed lawyer Edgar Neira as his representative before the audit committee. Through a statement sent to the audit committee, the president informed that he was notified with the resolution in which this legislative board evoked knowledge of the progress. Also, Lasso asked to be informed if the prominence of the impeachment had already determined the fact on which they will base their accusations according to a ruling of the Constitutional Court. The Indian ruler also requests the starting date to the 10-day term. He has to present his evidence. The anti-corruption campaign in Venezuela goes on. The Public Prosecutor's Office offered data of the last investigations. There are more than 50 people detained for being involved in the theft of the nation's patrimony. The details in the following report by Adriana Sibori.
The operation spans, and there are 51 detained for corruption in Venezuela. Public television showed the last 13 officials apprehended. Hugo Chavez, former minister and former governor, stands out. The directors of the state-owned steel, aluminum, and iron industries were also brought before the court. All of them are accused of embezzlement from the nation.
Anyone who believes, man or woman, youngster, etc., who considers or believes that he or she can reach public office in order to, in association with businessmen, commit crimes, see yourselves in the mirror of these 51 persons detained, charged, and hopefully punished with the maximum penalty provided by Venezuelan legislation, and other arrests may follow.
Venezuela's Attorney General avoided referring to the former head of state-owned oil company PDVSA, Tarek El Aissami, who resigned 3 weeks ago. He did talk about Rafael Ramirez, who left the country in 2017 and diverted the Venezuelan crude oil trade for 10 years. Also accused of corruption in the Caribbean country, and now it is also being investigated by the United States.
La compra de propiedades, la legitimación de capitales. Ya eso está dentro de documentos.
The bribery, the extortion, the corruption, the purchase of property, the money laundering are already within the document that rests in the corresponding prosecutor's office of the United States of America that link Ramirez. They made the discovery yesterday? No, we have since 2017 on that. It is time for Italy, with which we maintain good diplomatic relations, to honor the commitment of cooperation with the democratic government of Venezuela and to hand over this criminal to us.
The amount stolen from the states has not been officially disclosed, but there is talk in the streets of the capital about how to use the money.
All those people who are corrupt should be imprisoned, and the money recovered should be for the elderly and for the teachers.
To implement it in the social programs so that people receive this benefit and reintegrate it into social programs.
Next week, Parliament is expected to threaten anti-corruption laws.
Adriana Sibori, teleSUR, Caracas.
Dozens of people gathered at the Utah State Capitol on Wednesday to demand changes as part of the students' social movement March for Life, an organization advocating for gun control and safer schools. March for Our Life originally called for demonstrators on Monday, the one-week anniversary of the Nashville elementary school shooting that killed 6 people, including 3 children. Due to weather conditions, the Utah's demonstrators moved to rally to Wednesday. In addition to the students, several Democratic leaders also attend, but no Republican leaders show up, which Senator Nate Blooding called disappointing. There is not as much willingness to listen to the concern and address the issue in a serious and urgent way, Blooding said. Another March for Our Life rally is scheduled on Thursday in front of the Tennessee State Capitol. Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. On Thursday, French demonstrators stated yet another date of protests and strike against President Emmanuel Macron's pension reform. Macron's initiative to raise the national retirement age from 62 to 64 has unleashed a storm of opposition that has lasted several months. Talks between union leaders and the Prime Minister Elizabeth Borne quietly collapsed on Wednesday without any breakthrough, setting the stage of new demonstrations, mostly peaceful but also punctuated by the violence. The unions vowed to maintain their resistance and called for another round of protests within a week, but the labor strike, which have caused major disruptions since January, lost some steam with fewer workers participating. The Paris metro operated almost normally on Thursday, in contrast to previous days of action. Russian President Vladimir Putin, Pope Francis visited Holy Thursday the Casal del Mármol Penitentiary Center for Minors in Rome. He praised a mass and performed the rite of wishing the fate of 12 children imprisoned there. According to the information released by the press office of the Holy See, in the morning the Pope will praise the so-called Mass of Chrism, while in the afternoon he went to the prison where he celebrated Mass of Conia Domini, the Lord's Supper. After the proclaiming the Holy Gospel, Francis improvised a homeline in which he referred to the traditional vision of the feast every year of this date. About 70 faithful, including young prisoners and prison workers, attended a mass in the capital of the prison, and then in the traditional rite, the Pope washes the feet of the 12 children, to whom he also shook hands and a sign of good wishes for the future and addressed them words of encouragement. And Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Belarusian counterpart on Thursday discussed expanding economic cooperation and strengthening defense ties between the two countries. The Kremlin talks were attended by senior officials from both countries and follow Putin's Wednesday meeting along with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. At the meeting, Putin signaled that he will continue to strengthen the security of the Union state to ensure sustainable and progressive social and economic development. Last month, Putin declared that his country plans to station some of its tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus.
The beginning of work on the Union State security concept that we have put on the media's agenda and discussed today is of great significance. These documents will include fundamental tasks of our cooperation amid growing tensions outside the borders of our countries and amid sanctions and the informational war unleashed against us. Naturally, it is worth working substantively on strategic plans. We will continue further strengthening to the security of the Union State in order to guarantee sustainable and progressive social and economic development.
On Thursday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in Turkey for talks that include a future of a key deal that allows grain export from Ukrainian ports through a safe corridor in the Black Sea. Lavrov met with his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Cavusoglu during a fast-breaking dinner in the capital, Ankara. They remembered Turkey, which has good ties with its two Black Sea neighbors, is opponent Russia and Ukraine, to resume peace talks, hoping to build on past diplomatic endeavor last year. Lavrov will also discuss the Turkish officials' two green deals, which the Russian Foreign Ministry said was extended as a gesture of goodwill for another 60 days. Russia's Commissioner for Children's Rights, Maria Lavlova, said that the United Nations meeting on Wednesday that Moscow is coordinating with international organizations to return the children deported from Ukraine back to their families. The Russian commissioner said by video link that since the beginning of the Russian military operation in Ukraine, Russia has taken in more than 5 million Ukrainians, including 730,000 children who came with parents, relatives, or legal guardians. Belova said that some 2,000 children who came from orphanage, with about 1,300 have been returned to their original institution, and 400 were sent to Russian orphanages, and 358 were placed in foster homes.
We've met with representatives of UNICEF, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, the International Committee of the Red Cross, and we provide all available information about the situation of children. We explain the situation about the organization of their life. Now, we're coordinating efforts with the Red Cross and reunification, but, unfortunately, there is no official cooperation through official channels with Ukraine. Although we are ready to work with the relevant bodies, we have not received a single request yet from their side, only completely unfounded accusations in the media and social media.
teleSUR English continues to grow. You can now tune in from 33 different African countries through StarSat, dial 461, and join our Latin American alternative broadcast. One final short break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Israel launched an airstrike on the Gaza Strip late Thursday after vowing the relentless over a barrage of cross-border rockets fired from Lebanon, which it blamed on Palestinian groups. A Palestinian security source said that the strike had hit several Hamas training sites. Further strikes ran on half an hour later. An aircraft could be heard flying overhead. Premier Benjamin Netanyahu vowed that Israel's enemies will pay the price after the 34 rockets were fired from Lebanon into Israeli territory early in the day. Israeli emergency services report one man wounded by a shrapnel and a woman injured while running to the shelter during the attack. The rocket fire from Lebanon early on Thursday came one day after Israeli police drew widespread condemnation from around the region for clashing with Palestinians inside Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque, Islam's third holy site. Russian permanent representative to the United Nations, Venezuelan President made some remarks following UNESCO meeting consulting in the Middle East.
The escalation that we are witnessing today is dangerous, has been dangerous before Israel announcement, and besides, Israel already retaliated. I understand that in addition to missile shelling of the Israeli territory, Israel has already retaliated by striking on the Lebanese territory. Luckily, we didn't have any casualties out of these strikes, but further escalation would not help resolving the current situation in Jerusalem, which basically, in our view, is the precursor of what happened later, and these issues are all related.
On the other hand, the spokesperson for the United Nations Secretary General, Stefan Dujarric, condemned the rocket attack and urged the parties involved to refrain from taking unilateral actions to might worsen the situation.
Concerning the situation between Lebanon and Israel, I can tell you that we condemn the multiple rockets being fired from Lebanon into northern Israel today. We urge all actors to exercise maximum restraint. The UN interim force in Lebanon remains in contact with authorities on both sides of the blue line, and we urge the parties to liaise with our peacekeepers and avoid any unilateral action that could further escalate the situation.
The government and the Communist Party of China's CPC called the meeting between Taiwan's leader Tai Ing-wen and U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Kevin McCarthy as a violation of China's sovereignty. The Ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense, the National People's Congress, the Office of Alliance Affairs of the CCP's Central Committee, and the Beijing Embassy in the U.S. issued statements strongly protesting the meeting on Wednesday. In general, the entities deplored that Washington ignored China's warning and allowed both the transit visit and the talks between the side and the third most important politician in the country. The institutions stressed that such actions violated one China principle, the fundamentals of bilateral ties with the United States, sovereignty and territorial integrity. Zimbabwe's Vice President and Health Minister Constantino Chiwenga announced that the government intends to introduce a law that will make it illegal for another nations to restrict its health workers. The move aims to prevent the loss of valuable healthcare professionals to other countries, which has been a long-standing issue for Zimbabwe's healthcare system. Chiwenga said that the loss of healthcare personnel is comparable to human trafficking and announced stricter penalties for those who deprive the nations of its human capital. According to local media, more than 4,000 doctors have left Zimbabwe since February 2021. The UK's National Health Services being the most attractive destination, as wages are far higher than those paid back home. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.